If it looks like I'm floundering, feel free to jump in and save me.
Physics is supposed to be ideally a model of reality. It's supposed to represent what's actually out there. It's our attempt to look at what's out there and then create a mathematical representation of what is there. It's not always accurate. We'll create a mathematical problem, like for gravity, say, that appears to be accurate. So we use it and we roll with it for a while, and then somebody like Einstein comes along and goes, but it doesn't quite work in this situation. So if we rework the math problem or introduce something like special relativity, this math works a little better, and maybe that more accurately represents the world. So it's an ever-changing attempt to recognize the world, but it will always have inaccuracies.
Well, I quite like your map metaphor there, because kind of if you think of it as a map, then you're discovering the terrain, but you're making the map, which is the representation. So maybe physics is more the map. But like I say, that's it's an area I've not especially studied, and we do come up against those. And actually, that's the most common response I have when somebody says, "Hey, will you do an episode about this?" And a lot of the time I have to think, well, I've not actually studied that. And philosophy is an incredibly broad field. It's not something I have the opportunity to study everything in, so I have to be a little bit selective about the episodes I make. But somebody in the chat recently got into a debate about whether owning pets is ethical. That's not something that I've actually even thought of before. It's quite cool. I never had a pet. Well, I never really had something like a cat or a dog. I had some fish as a kid. I had 2 fish called Sith and Jedi, and then they both died. But Jedi died first. Jedi died like a week before Sith did.
This was an interesting topic. I thought about this the other day because I was thinking about my dog, and I'd heard somebody say the owning pets is like the ultimate narcissism, or you just want this animal around that loves you all the time. But
yeah, actually doing stand-up, I hear a lot of comics go over that kind of material and say, I tried to find love amongst my own species, but I couldn't, so I got a dog.
So I wonder if, though, it's not as binary as having a pet is good or bad, but depending on why you have the pet. My dog, I didn't choose to get him. He fell in my lap. My ex-girlfriend needed to get rid of him, and I was going to just keep him for a week, and he never left.
Or I suppose a friend of mine found a kitten recently that probably would have died had she not sort of taken care of it.
Right.
So I guess in that sense, if there's an animal that required caring for, then you're preventing it from suffering. It might be a good thing to own a pet. So that might be some good ones. Maybe we can think of some counterexamples. Under what circumstances might it be bad?
If you have a dog that you've got specifically for a guard dog, maybe it's bad. I mean, you're training it to harm other people. It's only really going to be maybe beneficial to you. I don't know.
I guess the other side of that, though, would be if it's a guard dog, it's designed to prevent harm from happening. So if you were the guard dog owner, then you might that might be the counter argument that you would submit.
Also, some people get animals. Like my friend had gotten a dog specifically because she wanted it to pay attention to her and love her and stuff, but she didn't have the time to pay attention and love it, so she was gone and at work and stuff all the time, wanted it to be there and ready for her when she got home, but it tore up the house because it was bored, so she couldn't keep it, and that was like not a good an ethical or moral position to be in, to have a dog just expecting it to be there for you without being there for it.
Yeah, I guess if you can't take proper care of the animal, then it's going to, the dog was bored, so it destroyed the house, so that's not really a great example of the animal suffering. But if you were unable to care for the animal and you were promoting suffering that way, then that would be good. Like if you had a chimp or something in your house that you just couldn't care for.
Does caring stop, though, at just the base necessities? I mean, the boredom stemmed from the dog not being taken on walks and not being played with and not having things to socialize. Dogs are social like we are.
Because it's a social animal. You're probably very right at that. What do I think about the school of thought called absurdism? Says Oliver von Baron. I do quite like absurdism, which isn't to say that I think it's necessarily 100% correct, but I do certainly enjoy reading. I have read Camus' Myth of Sisyphus. I actually did a couple of videos on absurdism. I did one talking about how absurdism is embodied in Welcome to Night Vale, the kind of radio podcast series, and also one of the top universities in the UK asked me to lecture for them, and I not on a permanent basis, just a kind of one-off guest spot lecture. And the topic of my lecture was how Welcome to Night Vale embodies absurdism. It was an extended 20-25 minutes of of that, of explaining absurdism as well. And in fact, both those videos are on the channel. I recorded the audio of that lecture and put some animations to it. So if you wanted to look that up on the channel, Oliver von Baron, it is certainly there. You can look at it. What does it feel like being watched by more than 10,000 people? It's weird. It's a little scary, if I'm honest. Just a little bit scary. We were talking about this at the start of the video. It's very humbling. It's a little bit scary. It's nice to have so many people giving that kind of nice feedback and being so lovely. I was talking I'm not sure if you guys have seen Go Verb a Noun, but there's this guy Peter who's traveling from America, all around America and all around Europe, interviewing edutubers, and he interviewed Hank Green, and he interviewed Mike Rugnetta and Emily, and then he came to Scotland to interview me. And we went to the pub and we were talking about YouTube fame and stuff, which isn't really something that can be applied to me. And he was saying it's very different for edutubers than it is for, say, somebody like PewDiePie, who and Peter was at VidCon and he was seeing all these incredible YouTubers who were really, really popular, not edutubers, and all their fans were really kind of fanish, really crazy. They had fandoms. People were like, "Woo, yeah, I want to see him." Stuff. And he said that all the edutuber fans were just slightly more cool, slightly more so. It's like, "Oh, hey, you're the guy. Oh, hey, cool. Yeah, good to meet you. I really liked what you did on this." So it's not scary in the way that I imagine Felix might feel a little bit intimidated sometimes when he finds people camping outside his house. So it's not scary like that. For the most part, it's extremely lovely. It's an incredibly humbling and fun experience. It's definitely one of the most fun things I think I've ever done. Alec asks, do I ever travel to experience the cultures and philosophies of others firsthand? I don't specifically travel to experience other areas of philosophy, but I certainly have, fortunately, had the opportunity to travel a fair bit. I've travelled all over the world. I think I've been on every continent except Africa and Antarctica. I've been to a lot of other places. I mean, I've by no means been everywhere and experienced everything, but I've had the opportunity to travel an awful lot, and I do very much love it. If you were wondering, my favourite country that I've ever visited was New Zealand, which is an incredibly beautiful, gorgeous place. My brother lived there for a couple of years, and I went out to visit him for a couple of months, and it is one of my favourite places. Absolutely gorgeous. And Canada's a close second. Dwitty has just started studying philosophy, but you've been reading about it for a year, and you suggested the A-level course to your head teacher. Did I do the A-level, and is it helpful? I did do philosophy A-level. I understand it's changed, or possibly is changing in the future, so maybe my experience of it might not be what other people's is who are going through it now or soon. But I did find it useful. I think a large part of that was because I had an incredibly inspiring teacher at A-level. I had a teacher called Mr. Baker, who was just a fantastic man. He spoke a dozen languages, half of them extinct, and he was a genius. And he went so beyond the syllabus. He said, there's this and this, but there's also all this other stuff that we'll bring in that you guys can just put on your essays and it'll look really, really good. He was an amazing teacher. So I certainly found his teaching very, very useful. The A-level itself was definitely a good grounding for the first year of philosophy at university. My introductory modules at university level were quite broad and wanted to cover the groundwork, and a lot of it was stuff that I'd maybe not done in as much detail before, but certainly been exposed to before, and that was really helpful. Just understanding where Descartes was coming from with his stuff, and understanding, I already had a working knowledge of what utilitarianism is, and already had a working knowledge of Kantian ethics, and already had a working knowledge of Aristotelian virtue ethics. So I certainly found the A-level useful in preparing for university. Your mileage may vary depending on your A-level syllabus and your teacher. Rose asks, what is my favourite novel and why? Obviously it's always changing as I read new things, but my favourite novel at the moment is The Last Man by Mary Shelley. And I'm not saying anyone else has to like it, it's obviously just purely a taste thing. But I think some of the passages where Lionel Verney meets his future wife are incredibly beautiful, and I love that in the last three or four pages the novel really changes direction, because for those who haven't read it, it's about the last man, the last human being on Earth. But it's not just about how he ended up being the last human, it's also pretty much his entire life story leading up to that. And in the last 4 pages, it really changes because he's got nothing left. He's the only person